My sister proposed to my fiancé at family dinner to test his loyalty. It completely ruined her marriage. If there's one rule in my family, it's that my older sister Chloe always gets what she wants. She got the bigger bedroom, the first car, the college tuition paid in full, and every single piece of attention our parents had to spare. But I really genuinely thought that my own engagement was off limits. I was wrong. Last Sunday, at our family dinner, Chloe didn't just try to steal my spotlight. She pulled out a velvet box, dropped to one knee in front of my fiancé Mark, and proposed to him right in front of me and my entire family. She claimed it was just a loyalty test to see if Mark was truly devoted to me. But what happened next blew her entire life wide open, ruined her own marriage, and exposed a secret my family had been hiding for over 5 years. To understand why last weekend was such an absolute dumpster fire, you have to understand my sister Chloe. Chloe is 2 years older than me, 28, and she has spent her entire life operating under the assumption that the world revolves around her. Growing up, if I got an A on a test, Chloe had to point out that she made the varsity cheer squad. If I bought a nice dress for prom, Chloe would accidentally spill cherry cola on it, or buy the exact same dress in a brighter color so she'd look better in pictures. Our parents, Susan and David, enabled every bit of it. Their philosophy was simple. Chloe is sensitive and ambitious, so Maya needs to be the mature one. I became the mature one, which was basically code for the kid who gets ignored. Despite the constant competition from Chloe, I managed to build a peaceful life. I graduated college, got a job as a graphic designer at a mid-sized firm, and rented a sweet little one-bedroom apartment in the city. And then, 3 years ago, I met Mark. Mark is a high school physics teacher. He's funny, grounded, incredibly patient, and he treats me like I'm the only person in the room. Unlike the guy Chloe married, a flashy, arrogant real estate agent named Brad who spends more time talking about his crypto investments than looking at his wife, Mark is genuinely kind. He builds custom bookshelves, bakes homemade sourdough on Sundays, and loves me quietly and completely. 6 months ago, Mark took me to the botanical gardens where we had our first date. He got down on one knee next to the orchid house and asked me to spend the rest of my life with him. The ring was modest, beautiful, and meant everything to me. I said yes, obviously. When we announced our engagement, my parents were happy, but Chloe's reaction was strange. She didn't throw a fit. Instead, she gave me this pitying smile and said, "A teacher, huh? Well, as long as you're okay with living on a budget, sweetie." I brushed it off. I was used to her snide comments, but I had no idea how far she was willing to go to prove that she was still the favorite. Fast forward to last Sunday. My mom called me earlier in the week insisting that Mark and I come over for a family dinner. She said it was to celebrate our upcoming wedding planning and promised Chloe and Brad would be there too. Mark wasn't super thrilled. He's always seen right through Chloe's fake smiles, but he agreed to go for my sake. When we arrived at my parents' house in the suburbs, the atmosphere was weirdly tense from the start. Brad was sitting on the couch, glued to his phone, looking visibly annoyed. Chloe, on the other hand, was bouncing around the kitchen in a stunning, slightly over-the-top red cocktail dress, completely overdressed for a casual family pasta night. Throughout dinner, Chloe kept making subtle, weird comments. "Mark, you've really gained some muscle lately, haven't you?" "Mark, it's so cute how you listen so attentively to Maya. Brad never listens to me like that." Brad just scoffed into his wine glass. Mark looked uncomfortable and kept reaching under the table to squeeze my hand. Every time Mark was affectionate with me, Chloe's eyes would narrow. She hated seeing me happy, but more than that, she hated that Mark never gave her the validation she constantly craved. After dessert, my mom suggested we all move to the living room for coffee. That's when Chloe stood up, tapped her glass with a spoon, and said, "Actually, before coffee, I have a special announcement and a demonstration." We all turned to look at her. Brad didn't even bother looking up from his phone. Chloe walked over to where Mark was sitting on the sofa next to me. She took a deep breath, reached into her designer handbag, and pulled out a small navy blue velvet jewelry box. My stomach plummeted. I had no idea what was happening, but a terrible feeling washed over me. "Chloe, what are you doing?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She ignored me completely. She locked eyes with Mark, stepped right in front of him, and dropped down onto one knee. My mom gasped. My dad dropped his coffee mug onto the carpet. Brad finally snapped his head up from his phone, his jaw dropping open. "Mark," Chloe began, her voice dramatic and trembling like she was auditioning for an Oscar. "I've watched you with Maya for 3 years. You're handsome, you're loyal, and you treat a woman the way she deserves to be treated. Maya is my sister, and I love her, but let's be honest. She's always settled for the safe path. I know a man like you craves real passion, so I'm putting it all on the line, right here, right now." She popped the velvet box open. Inside was a sleek silver men's watch, a Rolex. "Choose me, Mark," Chloe said, looking up at my fiancé with a triumphant smirk. "Leave Maya. Leave this quiet little life. I can give you everything you've ever dreamed of. If you say yes, I'll divorce Brad tomorrow." Silence dead-stopped the room. You could literally hear the clock ticking on the mantelpiece. I sat there, completely frozen, my mind trying to process the absolute insanity of what had just come out of my sister's mouth. I looked at my mother, expecting her to scream at Chloe. Instead, my mom just sat there with her hand over her mouth, totally paralyzed. I looked at Brad. His face was beet red, his fists clenched so hard his knuckles were turning white. And then I looked at Mark. Mark didn't look flustered. He didn't look flattered, He looked utterly disgusted. He slowly leaned back on the couch, crossed his arms, and looked down at Chloe like she was a stain on his shoe. "Chloe," Mark said, his voice cold and steady, "are you out of your mind?" Chloe's confident smile faltered for a fraction of a second, but she pushed through. "Come on, Mark. Don't be afraid. I know you feel the spark between us. Don't settle for second best." Mark let out a harsh, sarcastic laugh. "Second best? Chloe, your sister is the kindest, smartest, most incredible woman I have ever met. You, on the other hand, are an insecure, manipulative narcissist who can't stand the fact that someone in this world isn't obsessed with you." Chloe's eyes went wide. "Mark, get up off the floor." Mark cut her off sharply. "You look pathetic. I wouldn't marry you if you were the last woman on earth. I love Maya. I have only ever loved Maya, and the fact that you would try to embarrass her like this in front of her own family proves how rotten you are on the inside." Chloe's face turned bright red. She quickly scrambled up from the floor, clutching the watch box to her chest. The arrogant smirk was completely gone, replaced by pure panic as she realized her little stunt had backfired catastrophically. I was testing you," Chloe stammered, looking around the room frantically. "It was a test, a loyalty test for Maya. I just wanted to make sure Mark was really loyal to my little sister before she made a big mistake. See? He passed. I did it for you, Maya." "A test?" Brad finally erupted, slamming his glass onto the coffee table so hard it shattered. "A test? You just offered to divorce me for her fiancé." "Brad, honey, shut up. You don't understand," Chloe shrieked, trying to reach for him. "Don't touch me," Brad yelled, standing up. "I've taken your crap for 5 years, Chloe. I knew you were crazy, but this? You're delusional." My dad finally snapped out of his trance. "Chloe, what in God's name is wrong with you? Apologize to your sister right now." "Why should I apologize?" Chloe screamed, her voice cracking. "I was trying to protect her. Maya is too naive. She doesn't know how men work." I stood up. I wasn't crying. For the first time in my life, I wasn't sad or hurt by Chloe's behavior. I was just filled with a pure, crystal-clear rage. "Chloe," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "Get out." "Maya, sweetie, listen to me," my mom started, stepping toward me. "No, Mom, shut up," I snapped, turning on my mother for the first time in my life. "You have spent 26 years making excuses for her. Every time she took my stuff, every time she ruined my birthday, every time she put me down, you told me to be the bigger person. Well, I am done being the bigger person." I looked at Chloe, who was trembling with anger and embarrassment. "You didn't do a loyalty test, Chloe," I said coldly. "You thought you were so irresistible that Mark would jump at the chance to drop me for you. You couldn't handle that he chose me. You tried to humiliate me, but all you did was humiliate yourself and destroy your own marriage." Brad picked up his coat from the chair. "She definitely destroyed it. I'm calling my lawyer tonight." "Chloe, don't even bother coming home. I'm changing the locks." Brad walked out the front door, slamming it so hard the house shook. Chloe burst into tears. Not sad tears, but angry, spoiled brat tears. "Look what you did, Maya. You ruined my marriage. Brad left me because of you." "Because of me?" I laughed in disbelief. "You proposed to my fiancé." "He's right, though, isn't he?" Mark added softly, looking at my parents. "You two let her become this monster. But honestly, Chloe, I think the real reason you bought that Rolex isn't just because you wanted to steal me. You knew Brad was broke, didn't you?" The room went dead silent again. Chloe froze. Her fake tears stopped instantly. "What are you talking about?" Mark pulled out his phone. "As a high school teacher, I don't make a ton of money, but my best friend happens to work in corporate fraud investigation. A few weeks ago, when you were bragging about Brad's big real estate investments, I noticed something off. Out of curiosity, my buddy did a quick public record search. Brad didn't leave you, Chloe. You were planning to leave him anyway because his company is under investigation for a massive Ponzi scheme, isn't it?" My parents gasped. "What?" my dad demanded, looking at Chloe. Chloe's face drained of all color. "You knew Brad was going to lose everything," Mark continued calmly. "You wanted to tick it out before the federal investigators showed up. You thought I was an easy target, a nice guy you could manipulate into taking care of you before the ship sank." Chloe opened her mouth to deny it, but she couldn't. The truth was written all over her face. She hadn't just tried to steal my fiancé out of jealousy. She was trying to use him as an escape hatch from her own crumbling, fraudulent life. I looked at my sister one last time. The girl who had spent her whole life trying to outshine me was now standing in our parents' living room, exposed, bankrupt, and completely alone. "Mark," I said gently, taking his arm. "Let's go." "Maya, please don't leave like this," my mom pleaded, tears filling her eyes. "We're family." "We were a family, Mom," I said, looking her dead in the eye. "But until you stop enabling a monster, you don't have a daughter named Maya anymore." Mark and I walked out of the house, leaving Chloe screaming at my parents as the reality of her life collapsed around her. That was 3 days ago. Since then, my phone has been blowing up. My mom has left 20 voicemails crying and asking me to forgive Chloe because she's going through a mental breakdown. My dad sent me a long text apologizing, admitting he turned a blind eye for too long, but asking if we can talk. Brad officially filed for divorce yesterday, and news just broke that his firm is being raided by the SEC. Chloe is currently staying in my parents' guest room, penniless, because Brad froze all their joint accounts. As for Mark and me, we just booked a flight to Hawaii. We decided we don't want a big wedding with family drama anymore. We're going to elope on a beach, just the two of us, far away from the toxicity. Chloe tried to test my fiancé's loyalty, but all she did was prove that love, truth, and real character will always win against a fake smile.